getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome to a brand new season of Sim Racers Group Formula 3 on SMB. J.R. Gregory here with you on the call, along with tonight's producer, Mike Braun. I am pleased to welcome Tom O'Gorman to Slow Motion Broadcasting and to this season's coverage of F3. And what a season we have ahead of us. Classic Formula One tracks like Suzuka, Spa, Gilles Villeneuve, and a few trips into the concrete jungle in a few towns like St. Pete, Adelaide, Miami, and Long Beach, and that is just a portion of this fantastic schedule laid out ahead of us right now in Week 1. But Week 1 comes out swinging with the epic challenge that is Sebring International Raceway. Yeah, we were talking before the show. It is that time of year, but this facility began life as Hendricks Army Airfield from 1941 to 1946, and when World War II ended, gearheads do what they do when they see acres of unused tarmac, and that is create a racetrack. American engineer Alec Ullman the guilty party here, and he wanted to build an American racing facility to rival Circuit du Sarthe in Le Mans, France, and his dream came true in 1950. 75 years ago, the first endurance race took place here at Sebring, and since that time, Sebring has played host to F1, the World Endurance Championship, IMSA, ALMS, Camel GT, Trans Am, and so many more. Today's config, 3.7 miles, just over 7 clicks, 17 corners. Current record of 141,800, set in 2019 by Kobayashi in a Toyota LMP1. And Tom, welcome to F3, and what an initiation. These drivers are going to have their hands full tonight using a fixed setup out there on a bumpy and very, very hot Sebring. So what are you expecting out of these competitors tonight?
Yeah, good evening, JR. Happy to be here with you on Slow Motion Broadcast, joining y'all for both Formula 3 and Formula 4 here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. But tonight we're kicking off Formula 3. Sebring is such a challenge. It's the greatest flat track in the world, I'd say. And it's not necessarily flat, right? If you add up all the elevation, it's probably a mountain, but it's all in tiny little chunks all around the surface, bouncing around Sebring International Raceway. I think the two storylines that I have my eye on are, first, obviously this track being the layout that it has, I should explain, is essentially the straightaways are separated kind of nice and evenly around the circuit, which is going to allow for some pretty good drafting, not just all in one chunk like maybe Spa or Watkins Glen, but a couple times a lap. That makes racing really interesting. But if you take a look on the left side, the soaring pylon, the gaps are fairly large tonight coming into the first round of the season. Maybe Sebring hiding a little bit more time on some of these drivers than they were expecting. I also think that might mean we have some people on their learning curve still getting ready for the race. Maybe they'll click once the green flag drops.
Yeah, too right. And we're used to seeing a pretty tight grid here for Sim Racers Group F3, and not really seeing that tonight. You know, I like to look at the 1 second bracket. Only 5 cars right now is qualifying, winding down within that 1 second window, and the 2 second window, only 11 cars total. So we are going to have potential risk here of a little bit of a track day, particularly in the feature race. Sebring is a pretty long course, and we could be seeing Lynn Lotto and Stephen Case drive off a little bit here. And I got to say, I've been watching qualifying for a while, and probably 20 minutes ago, Lynn Lotto had about 5/10 on Stephen Case, which we very rarely see out here. And in the meantime, Case has chipped away, and is now sitting on your provisional pole with a 152.768. And he's followed by Lynn Lotto, Poborshi, Green, and De Silva. So the usual suspects lingering toward the top, with the exception of Kalen Mikovits. Kalen not feeling it out here, about 2.3 seconds off pace. And Kalen, of course, your P3 bottom step of the season podium in last season's festivities. So qualifying winding down here. Looking forward to getting this one going. And don't forget, folks, we have 2 races tonight on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We're going to start with a 15-minute heat race. That heat race is going to set the order for our feature race, with the exception of the top 6. The top 6 of the grid are going to be inverted. That is the Charles Bochel commemorative inverted grid. But here is your starting grid for the heat. It is Stephen Case up front next to Max Lynn Lotto, then Danush Poborshi in row 2 next to Jason Green. Tyrone De Silva will line up next to Alex Velasco. Then it's Cotcher next to Christopher Eggert. Joshua Corwin will line up next to Adam Duvall. That gets you to P10. Then it's Adrian Lopez next to newcomer Michelle Lynn. We'll talk about her a little bit later in the broadcast. Then Mikovits, I mentioned him next to Jose Navas. Lloyd Conway will line up next to Diego Posada. Thomas Brashear next to Culker and Dillon. Jacob Guyton next to Ken Glasser, and then Jason Trantham all alone back there in row 11 to bring up the rear. And looking down at the grid right now, that is Stephen Case in the 243 car. So he's going to have the inside run into turn 1. And Tom, always interesting turn 1 in the best of circumstances, and coming off of a standing start. No traction control, no anti-lock brakes, cold tires on a very hot track. Getting this field through turn 1 clean is going to be the first challenge these drivers are facing tonight.
Of course, yeah, as you look on the front straightaway, it balloons out to about 25 Formula 3 cars wide going into turn 1, and then narrows back down at the apex before you finally exit the concrete, enter the tarmac, and then it's really only maybe 3 cars wide. So it's just so tempting, especially if you get a good jump off the start, to take it as wide as you need to, but you really have to have a plan, which usually ends up in whoever was on the inside sweeping all the way up and out, NASCAR style, oval style, into the outside.
Yeah, too right. And there's a reason the grass is so thin there on that exit of turn one. And I actually got to do some laps out here as we wait for the start, about 10 seconds. But it is thrilling. Just a tiny lift in sixth gear is enough to slow you up for turn one if you got to have confidence in the massive grip and aero of these cars. But it is a thrill. And waiting for the lights now as Case blinks out temporarily. I hope that is not foretelling of things to come, but there are the lights, and we are underway. Race one of Sim Racers Group Formula 3 underway here, and Case gets off to a pretty good jump. Looks like Green has snuck past Danush Paborji, and as Tom was saying, there's a million lines through turn one, and here we go. Pretty well behaved here off of the start, and not a lot of shuffling up front. Velasco up to Joshua Corwin up to as well as the fighting continues down into turn three. But first, tip of the hat to these competitors, getting those cars off the line clean and through turn one without incident.
I think Jason Green might have had the most impressive start, but unfortunately dumped it off the track coming out of turn one, excuse me. He's still not salvaged it as he's starting to get freight trained back to about eighth. We've got a battle for second around the outside. Danush Paborji trying to get a good exit. He's going to get a great one, but it's basically into the back bumper of the number 12. Max Lotto goes defensive, but these cars, again, a nice drafting zone here. They're going to be able to go side by side down into 10.
Yeah, and it is going to be a nonstop draft party here, and we'll talk about the tire situation a little bit later. Tire wear, not really much of a problem here in the 15-minute heat, will be an issue later. And look at Danush Paborji has come to party out here. Paborji up one right now, and getting a little spicy with Lotto, knocking him off the outside of, I think that was Tower right there. So things getting spicy between those two, and Paborji, hangs around the top 10, probably middle of the top 10. And look at him right now running in P2. Oh, and there's a big wreck. There's Christopher Eggert getting some massive G-forces as he goes off the final section there prior to Le Mans. A huge hit from Eggert. We'll go back and show you that. But that was a big one as Case driving away here as lap one concludes.
Yeah, tough for Max Lotto slipping off the track just ever so slightly. And you talk about the tire wear not being a huge deal, but the cold tires are. And it's also not good when you bottom out your bottom, the bottom runner plate of the car on the curb and you go in for the wall. That's a big hit for sure. But the cold tires, I think once you do that little slip as well in turn 13, he just fell off the back. Danush Paborji with a great run. But that bickering between Lotto and Paborji has given Stephen Case a huge lead.
Yeah, Case got to be loving what he is seeing as relative right now. He's enjoying a 2-second gap behind, and boom, there is a replay of that incident with Eggert. And yeah, that is a change. There was a lot of talk about the 3D curbs, and when they announced that, this is one of the tracks that immediately sprang to mind. I have seen wrecks by professional drivers in prototypes in that exact spot. They either high center on that curb or get a little corner hook right there and upsets the car. And Eggert getting the short end of that one as he is going to have to take a tow. Looks like we've lost Posada as well. We'll try to figure out what happened with him. But right now up front, it is Case from Paborji from Velasco. And Mike, I think, is showing us Posada.
Somehow it's tough to tell if there's any damage, but the car either way ended up driver's right coming off of turn 5, and then it looks like he might have high-sided on the curb and spun it around a second time. Insult to injury. Oh, there's definitely damage. Another car involved. Is that maybe the 82 of Jason Trantham was the second culprit there. Tough to tell what happened in that context, but unfortunately, big damage on the back of that.
Yeah, top spot right. Oh, and there it is. Yeah, a little bit too much curb there by Posada. Upsets the car, washes him out into Trantham. So things getting a little bit too spicy right there around the inside of turn 5. Not a great spot for side-by-side battling. You saw the reason right there. And turn 5 is going to be problematic, I'm going to say, all night tonight, because it's such a tough spot to put the power down. You got to stay as close to the curb as possible without touching it and be patient on the throttle to get a good run down that short straightaway into the turn 7 hairpin. And that is not the first incident, Tom, we're going to see there tonight.
Absolutely not. Taking a look back a little bit further, this is Jason Cotcher. We know him as Captain Cotcher, chasing Joshua Corwin and Jason Green. after that topsy-turvy first lap, has settled right there into the 6th position behind Tyrone Da Silva. But right now, it looks like Cotcher has just enough of a draft that he might be able to take a peek up the inside of turn 7. Little bit of a defensive move from Corwin up the inside to discourage it. They're going to go single file through 7 this time.
Yeah, and plenty of time left, about 5 minutes now into a 15-minute session. So I'm not that great at math. Sounds like about 10 remaining. And oh, by the way, Max Linlotto, who we mentioned as having some speed here in the practice session, coming off of the grid in P2, now sitting in that sweet spot. If he finishes this race in P6, that will put him on pole position for the feature, and doesn't have it tied up. He's got about 0.7 behind him to Joshua Corwin, and Jason Cotcher hanging around right there as well. But certainly after maybe a disappointing start by Linlotto, he may want to kind of settle into that P6, see if he can turn that into a pole position if he can hang on for about 10 more minutes.
The great call, and Linlotto ran just a little bit wide coming off a turn, or I think it actually happened into turn 7. So if he's doing a strategy to get to 6th, he deserves the Oscar for it because he's gone off a couple times to land there. But I agree, the best case scenario now is he essentially races for 5th, ends up on the front row regardless in that invert zone. But that's basically left Case well up the road for Danush Paborji in 2nd and Alex Velasco in 3rd. Those two still well in touch with each other for the second part of the podium.
Yeah, and the field spreading out a little, and not as much as I feared after looking at those qualifying times. So the cars hanging together pretty well, and it's that kind of track, Tom. The draft so powerful here. You mentioned there are a couple of long stretches that put the draft to work in these F3 cars, and that draft can really make up for small mistakes during the twisty parts. Lose a 10th here, lose a 10th there, but if you can stay within about 0.7 or 0.8, those cars suck back together every time you reach the straight end. Whoop! Speaking of Linlotto, that is Linlotto sniffing around behind Jason Green, and maybe Linlotto not satisfied with staying in P6 as he is all over Green right now, about a 0.1 gap, and Linlotto looking racy. He's going to stick it down the inside. Here we go. Oh, thought he was going to make a move right there into Cunningham. Thinks better of it. But Tom, he might be working on that Oscar that you mentioned a moment ago.
I think he wanted that position. He had to bail out at the last second because Jason Green went on the defensive. Oh, the 777. That's a spin for Velasco. Another podium runner falls off the track in the first half of this race. The tires should be in their sweet spot for the last 2 or 3 minutes at least. And you're right, you don't have to worry about anything else. So an unfortunate mistake there for the 777, but I think Linlotto has the pace. Here's what happened to Velasco. Oh, just gets a little bit of curb, rubs the sidewalls up against it on entry. It floats the car down to the inside of the apex just a little bit more than he would have wanted. And that inside curb at turn 13 at Tower Corner might as well be a landmine.
Yeah, it really might as well. And I'll tell you, on paper, turn 13 is an absolute nothing burger. 90-degree right-hander, no problem, right? Well, it is a problem for the reason that you mentioned, the brutal curb on the inside, very bumpy on the outside, and it requires so much precision. I always feel like I'm threading the needle right there on turn 10 and never feel like I get it 100% right. And here is a replay of Jason Green overcooking the entry of Sunset, washing out a little bit there. That could have been way worse for Jason Green, but that drops him now down into P2, and Linlotto, due to the misfortunes of Green and Velasco, is up now into P4 as that P1 in the feature pole position drifting away from him, and is now in the hands of Jason Green, who's going to be getting pressure from Jason Cotcher from behind.
It's a very important spot. I know Cotcher would be thrilled to get that position, but Green would be thrilled to keep it. Either way, it's also a bragging rights spot on the results sheet and a couple extra points for your championship if you keep the 6th position over 7th. Side by side a little further back, this is Velasco on the charge after running towards the front in 3rd position. He's now trying to find a way through on Adam Duvall, and he's got a whole train of cars with him. I imagine he probably just pulled through a couple positions on Lopez and Navas, excuse me. A little bit of a dirt drop on the exit for Duvall. This is going to present a great opportunity for Velasco. He gets alongside. No, this is really difficult to sweep through this corner, even in these relatively slower cars. Shows the nose again. I just can't quite commit to it.
Yeah, and Duvall, a frequent flyer here. SRG fans will know him. Usually rocks that NASA livery. It looks like he's got a new paint scheme on that F3 car, looking excellent out there today. But about 6 minutes remaining. Case has completely driven off. He's dropped Poborgi to the tune of about 4 seconds. Poborgi also enjoying a huge gap behind of about 5 seconds. So that podium looking pretty well settled right now. And as I try to implement my first commentator's curse of the season. But look at all those white-colored intervals on our timing tower, folks. If you've been watching this show for a couple seasons, you know that white means intervals greater than 1 second, and they're starting to take over our timing tower. We talked about it before this one got underway, that there's a pretty broad range of pace out there today, and we normally don't see that out of these guys, but the Sebring track, tough nut to crack here on a hot floor today, it seems.
Yeah, the gradiated color scheme is a excellent production touch. Well done to them on that. But I agree, this track just being so long, it has a wide variety of corners. You have low-speed hairpins, decreasing, increasing radius corners, high speed. It's all here at Sebring, and it tends to both hide time and accentuate mistakes. I mean, it just takes so much bandwidth, even for a shorter 15-minute race. And it's not really a linear thing, right? If you start to spike the bandwidth a little bit earlier in the race as a driver, unless you notice it happening, take a couple deep breaths and back things down, it just starts to snowball from there. So that's why I think we're seeing some of these smaller mistakes from some of these drivers, especially the front runners, as Velasco's still a little bit stumped on what to do with Duvall. He's gotten back to the rear wing now for the second time, but he certainly doesn't have enough pace to just drive around. Duvall doing an excellent job running his line, not responding to the pressure and not getting rattled.
Yeah, and Velasco wishing for some James Bond accessories on that F3 car right now. Velasco's fast lap, 2.2 seconds faster than Duvall, but Duvall putting up some good defense. And as you said, Velasco not quite sure what to do, but maybe he'll take a peek down the inside of Sunset right here. And Duvall kind of washing out there. Maybe he wants to maybe he wanted to try the switchback right there, but that is not going to work as Duvall airborne over the bumps right there. And so many lines through Sunset, Tom, and so many of them are very, very bumpy, as you saw right there.
Yeah, that's the one that gets uncomfortable. That's how you know you're offline, is you hit online, not too bad. Offline, oh, really uncomfortable in real cars, at least. Luckily, these drivers can save their tailbones on this sim race tonight, but a big shuffle in this section of the field. This is the battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th, and I missed if Lynn Lotto had an incident. That's the car that I was trying to find. He slipped all the way back now to 9th. After I just caught him in the background there, maybe an incident at turn 5, JR?
Yeah, I completely missed that as well. Mike May had the replay for us right there, and whoop! What did I say? Turn 5, so tough, and just another spot on the Sebring track that requires an insane amount of precision. You have got to thread the needle through there, avoid that curb, apply power at the right time, as we see Jason Trantham taking a unconventional line there through Le Mans, as he's having problems with grip. So track still heating up. We're up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit right now, still late in the Florida afternoon. We could see those temperatures get hotter, and looks like what is Duvall dealing with now? Looks like Velasco got through, and now he's got Adrian Lopez behind him, and Lynn Lotto trying to claw his way back into relevancy after that mistake. He just turned in his fastest lap, but time running out, only 90 seconds remaining, and this one is about in the books.
But back to this battle for 4th place, there was it looked like a bunch of churn happening, but it was because Lynn Lotto had slipped off the track. So while he starts his last couple laps trying to hold on to the top 10, Jason Corwin has a lot of pressure on Jason Green into turn 1. Corwin running just a little bit wide of the apex, but Green goes off at the exit. Both mistakes equal to one another, and no opportunity created for either driver. Corwin, though, really trying to pick up this 4th spot. I mean, it's kind of a best-case scenario win-win here for him, because if he doesn't pick up this spot, he gets a front-row start. If he does pick up the spot, well, mission accomplished.
Wow, and Sebring coming up swinging, and these drivers really struggling to keep these cars on the track, and only after a 15-minute heat. We've seen all these mistakes that seem related to grip. So these folks are going to have their hands very, very full here in the feature race. And meanwhile, up front, it is a official Stephen Case track day, as Case enjoying an interval of about 6.5 seconds. He's heading through the back section right now. He'll come through the Le Mans corner onto that Ullman straightaway for the last time, and Case is going to have this one well in hand. In fact, the top four pretty well in hand if they can keep those cars on the track. And oh, by the way, just a quick peek back at that sweet spot in P6. Jason Cotcher has it, and I'm going to go ahead and tease Jason about the last time this happened to him last season at VIR. He ended up on the pole, and he held his breath, closed his eyes, and got swamped right off the start. He didn't want to have anything to do with that pole position, but Cotcher just had his first podium in F3, not too many races to go, so we'll see how Cotcher handles the start. But there is Stephen Case taking his first checker of the season, and folks, it is not going to be his last. Here comes Poborgi, and who came to play today, followed by De Silva, Green, and Corwin. And you know, Poborgi, last season it was Mikovits who kind of came out of the bottom half of the top 10 to put on a huge charge and put in great performances, race in and race out. Is it going to be Danush Poborgi this season? So you'll have to stay with us here on Slow Motion Broadcasting and find the answer to that. But that is going to wrap up the heat. We're going to have a short warm-up before we grid our feature race. But so far, so good. And Tom, it seems like typical Sebring as the takeaway. It is bumpy, it is hot, and it is tough to keep these cars on the track.
Yeah, and it's only going to get tougher as we add another 10 minutes to this race. We invert the top 3 rows. So a quick, well, this is still the in lap, actually. We'll have a quick turnaround and just taking a quick peek at the team championships, of which there is also here Stephen Case taking the win. Coulter and Dillon, though, basically brought up the end of the cars that were running at the end. So they're essentially bookending this one for their team, kicking off the season. I think the early team lead is going to be Jason Green and Josh Corwin. And it makes sense that we didn't see any naughty play between those two. If they're teamed up for the season championship, I think they're going to get an early lead, at least after this first of many feature main race, or what do we call this? Heat races. There we go.
Yeah, and a great feature that they've added to the F3 season a season or two ago. They put teams together. The teams change every season, so you don't get the same drivers locked in. And having a teammate on the track makes a huge difference. You can help each other strategically, kind of helps you root for people who might or otherwise be your rival. So a great feature that they've added. But yeah, we've got a 5-minute warm-up underway, and just a quick review of last season. I want to remind you that Stephen Case was the champion again of Formula 3. Josh Leslie took the P2 on the season, and Kalen Mikovits was in P3, and last season's team podium was Josh Leslie and Tyrone De Silva. First time somebody other than Case has been at the top of that list. Then after that was the L10 racing team with Case and Aaron Van Wagner, and the K-Wang with Mikovits and Chris Wang were in P3. But like I said, that is all off the table. The teams are changing, and it is a brand new season here at Sim Racers Group F3. And I got to say, we here at Slow Motion Broadcasting are thrilled to be partners once again with Sim Racers Group. They have a fantastic program down there in San Jose, in real life and virtually here, and we love to be partners with them. There is a shot. I actually had a chance to go down there, Tom, and participate in an enduro last year. May do the same again. But yeah, if you're in the Bay Area, this is right off of the 101, just south of the 680 interchange, and a bunch of high quality rigs, bunch of friendly people. So if you've ever wondered what it would be like to pilot one of these cars with a good sim racing rig underneath, you stop by there and look for the captain, and they'll get you set up. It's really a fantastic scene down there.
Yeah, having come from the generation of game cafes and the like, I really miss that era of getting together with your friends to play video games. And we use Discord, and we play with these with racing leagues, and we get in the simulators, and it's close. But to have that in-person experience, I'm actually quite jealous on the opposite coast that I can't just pop in on that.
Yeah, and it's got to be interesting to actually be able to smack talk the person on the track next to you in the same room,
Or reach over.
and yeah, or reach over, grab the e-brake or start pulling on cords. But yeah, it's pretty unique, I think, this business, and it's been successful. And as I said, slow motion broadcasting, we're really happy to be a part of that. As we take a look at that beautiful livery there on that 7-7 car, and that is Lloyd Conway, and I believe that is Conway's face on there. It kind of looks like Austin Powers, but I think I was corrected on that last season as we watched that 7-7 car go through 3, 4, and here is turn 5, the big trouble spot, and you see Conway kind of nibble of that inside curb, and a good exit there on Conway. And Tom, why don't you walk us through the rest of this lap with Lloyd driving?
Yeah, this is getting into the tricky section as we come into a very bumpy braking zone for turn 7, but you can gain so much time on the way in and position as well. But this run on the exit is an equally important straightaway. You're just flat out through all of it. So the car behind is getting a big hole in the air. The car in front is trying to get into this braking zone for turn 10. You can brake just past the first set of cones. And it's kind of a decreasing radius for a moment. You have to really consider wrapping around the backside of this corner, or else you slip all the way out to the left there as he does. But these cars, relatively low power, high downforce, you can basically run flat out up to turn 13. That corner, I completely agree, one of the most challenging on this circuit. He grabs a little bit of inside curb, but otherwise a decent exit. And now another flat out run. We're on our 5th straightaway after a key corner in a row. The double apex flat out into turn 15. And we're into the old concrete, so really, really bumpy. He gets kicked out over the curb. That's some extra bumps there. But it's all about getting a good exit onto the Sunset straightaway down into Sunset Bend out of turn 16 there. Maybe not the ideal line that time through.
Well, yeah, Sebring is one of those tracks where every corner has a wide variety of lines, and Conway showing maybe suboptimal line. Pretty good entry into Le Mans, but the previous quarter obviously not awesome. And look at that! Look at him fight that thing through Sunset. Oh my gosh, there is really no track in the world like Sebring, and it's some people kind of get sick of it every March. All the races pile up around here, but I think it is absolutely fantastic. And I was down in Florida in high school and actually got to attend a few Sebring 12 hours, which is its own special kind of thing as well. And anybody that's been down there knows that for sure. And Tom, you've probably been in the paddock down there for some of those events, but it looks like warm up winding down here. We're going to get our main feature underway. So run to the fridge, grab a beer, do that bio break, and we are going to get the next race underway here. And as we said, it is going to be Jason Cotcher, the captain, league admin, on the pole. And we'll see, no pressure, Jason, but we'll see how Jason handles it. And here is your grid. It is Cotcher next to Corwin in row 1. Then Jason Green will line up next to Tyrone De Silva in 3 and 4. Then it's Paborgi next to Stephen Case in 5 and 6. Alex Velasco will line up next to Lynn Lotto in row 4. Then it's Duvall next to Adrian Lopez. Michelle Lynn will line up next to Kalen Mikovits in row 6. Then it's Thomas Brashear next to Jacob Guyton. Jose Navas has his work cut out for him after some problems in the heat. Culcaran Dillon in P16. Trantham also involved in a kerfuffle early, will line up next to Ken Glasser. Then Diego Posada next to Christopher Eggert, one of our fast drivers who had a hard wall hit that landed him in P20 for this one. And then Lloyd Conway will be in P21, bringing up the rear. So we've got some fast drivers kind of back in the grid. There's going to be a lot of hard charging here. And there is Cotcher. I'd like to know his pulse right now. Jason, if you hear me, no pressure at all. Everything's fine. And just drive like you're out there by yourself, and forget that Green, De Silva, Paborgi, and Stephen Case are right behind you. And here he goes. And Cotcher again looks like he's breathing the throttle, holding his breath, closing his eyes, and hoping for the best. And Corwin and Green already through there. And now Cotcher just has Stephen Case behind him. Case is going to get through. And next will be Paborgi and Velasco, but 3 wide into turn 4. What could possibly go wrong? A little bit of wheel banging there, but they got away with that one, Tom. Holy cow.
That was incredibly mature driving from everybody involved, at least 7 or 8 different people all making good choices, all in the same spot on a racetrack. That doesn't happen very often. And unfortunately for Cotcher, he does lose out on that pole sitting position, but he only slips to 4th as the rest of the wave behind him sort of eased up the pressure just a little bit through turns 3 and 4. We live to fight another corner, but it's a big breakaway from the teammates by fate, Joshua Corwin and Jason Green. Green with the best start, I'd say again, but Corwin just enough to sweep the outside of Cotcher through turn 1. This is a breakaway. This is a gift for these two.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys absolutely loving it. And oh my goodness, look at Stephen Case has moved up 3 from his winning the heat, put him in P6. He's already made up 3 of those positions. So, oh my goodness. And oh my gosh. And who is that? I saw somebody cartwheeling out of tower. They look like Tyrone De Silva. We will show you that again, but bad things happening back there. And if our colleague Ron Mons was here, he would show that a flip of 10 times from 10 different camera angles. But we'll get Mike to show you that here in a second. But as we complete the first lap, at his teammates Corwin and Green in 1 and 2, Stephen Case trying to reel them in, then Cotcher and Velasco gets you to P5. But wild stuff there in tower, and Mike's going to show you that in just a second.
Here's a look at it. This is the car that gets collected after someone else is perpendicular to the track. It's one of these red cars. Which one goes around? There it is. And then it's just a ramp for the second car that comes in with nowhere to go. And you really have to just trust the drivers in front of you to be doing what they need to be doing. To an extent, he didn't have a lot of reaction time there, and the wings have fallen off, so I can't even tell what numbers they are. It's the number 1 car, at least, of Thomas Brashear. And then I think you're right. De Silva was the car that got launched. Here's a look from on board.
Oh, my
Brutal.
goodness. Yeah, that was Brashear. And Brashear has not had great luck in these F3 cars. He, whenever one of those incidents happens, it seems like Brashear is always lurking around somewhere, like Carl Malden in those old American Express Traveler's Check ads. But in any event, it is Jason Green up front from Corwin, from Case, from Cotcher, from Velasco, and a lot of movement. Chris Eggert, I told you, had some problems and had his work cut out for him. Well, Tom, he is getting that work done. He's picked up 9 positions already, and Eggert has lit the wick here and is pushing his way through the field like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah, up 9 positions is wild, and we misidentified the car. We were riding with Jose Navas. Unfortunately, Tyrone De Silva was not able to start this race after a wheel issue, the wheelbase acting up. That's the closest you can get to a mechanical breakage in sim racing, and unfortunately it happened. This is hairy stuff through turns 15 and 16 this lap. Velasco looks a little bit behind the car this lap, I gotta say. Struggling just a little bit, but he hasn't lost any positions. A pass for second place. Case ran down Corwin and was easily able to pick that spot up. Exiting turn 16. Now Case focuses forward. Big contact into 17.
Oh my gosh, and there is your league admin, Jason Cotcher, getting completely destroyed there. And if you are, you never want to be the one who takes out the boss, and it happened right there in the sunset. We'll show you that again, and that's Velasco with kind of a late dive down the inside there. And my gosh, Cotcher, the decision maker, I think one of the decision makers on penalties there, and the victim. So Velasco not in an enviable spot right there, taking out Cotcher. And yeah, I might need to see that one again, Tom, but that looked like a little bit of a late dive down into sunset.
I agree. It looked a little more like a cruise missile than a dive bomb, but that's not for us to decide. Jason Green continues to lead this one, and Green always has strong pace. I've been able to race, with Green once or twice. We got to commentate the final round of the previous season, and he was one of the fastest cars on lap time. So now that he's got this kind of momentum and rhythm built in this race, maybe he can do everything. Well, he will have to do everything. I will say he'll have to do everything he can to defend Stephen Case, who's only picking up maybe a 10th or 2 per lap so far.
Yeah, and tip of the hat to Green. You know, we talk about this every now and then. Green, the highest rated driver on the grid, sitting at 41.68 for open wheelers. That is a pretty high I-rating, folks, if you're not familiar with the system. Kind of puts him in some rarefied air for most of us normal humans, but have not seen, I don't think we've seen Green win one yet. So Green definitely has the pace and has the fast lap right now, 155.4685. And another thing he has is a hard charging Stephen Case behind with about a 1 second gap. And here is Lynn Lotto against Poborgi down that Almond Straight. And you see that draft going to work. Nothing Poborgi can really do except try to set up an over-under, a classic move here at Sebring. And Poborgi actually looking good there. Poborgi is going to fight this one all the way down into turn one, but Lynn Lotto will have the inside line into turn one. Looks like Lynn Lotto is probably going to make that one stick, but Poborgi definitely game. When you get burned on the inside there at Sunset, the only thing you can do is take that wide entry, try to get the switch back, and Poborgi very nearly got that done.
Yeah, he had the exact right idea, but Max Lynn Lotto came out of turn one in the perfect spot to discourage Poborgi from doing anything with it. Now he's been able to pull out about almost 5 car lengths exiting turn 5, flat out through turn 6 here. And you mentioned him at the top of the show as a little bit of maybe a dark horse tonight because he seemed a little off pace. Look who's up to 6th. It's Caleb Mikowitz, who you mentioned finished on the podium last season. Oh, as I say his name, he gets a big tank slap off of 7. Hold on to it, Kalen. But he's had a great charge up forward about 6 positions.
Yeah, and it sounds like Mike has a replay of Alex Velasco here and Cotcher, and here's that late move, and oof, you know, that actually, seeing that from Velasco's point of view, Tom, there's a million lines through Sunset, and he may have just gained position there. Cotcher may have turned in on him there. That's almost side by side. Oh boy, that is a close one. I have a feeling that one's going to end up a racing incident in the end.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think Velasco established his intention pretty well. That's well before the braking zone for that corner, but clearly both of them had totally opposite trajectories they wanted to end up on, and they crossed well too early. They crossed the streams, let's say. Here's a little bit of a battle brewing. As we mentioned, Caleb Mikowitz has a big amount of pressure on the back and some company from Adrian Lopez. And then just behind them is the driver you mentioned, Eggert, in the 222.
Yeah,
Adam
Eggert.
Duvall still behind. Go ahead, excuse me.
Yeah, Eggert with a nice move there, showing how critical that drive out of Le Mans was. Duvall not getting a very good exit right there, to sitting duck as Eggert makes that pass on the Almond Straight look easy. And now Eggert has got Mikowitz in front of him. Right, you know, these cars change liveries in the offseason. Yeah, that is Eggert with Mikowitz ahead and Duvall behind. But yeah, in any event, a great move by Eggert, and it all started with an excellent drive out of turn 16, Le Mans onto that back straightaway.
So this battle for the second half of the top 10 fizzles just slightly at the front, though. The new closest battle on track is essentially for the lead. Jason Green now has Stephen Case has reeled him in. Actually, I would say that's just about a draft's amount of time that he's reeled him in. So Green is still absolutely on it. And the reality is, with so much race left, I mean, we're not even essentially a third of the way through this race. If Jason Green gets passed by Stephen Case, he's going to inherit that draft. And then they're essentially going to be in a duel the entire time for the rest of this race.
Yeah, too right. And, you know, one thing that we have learned about Case, watching him over a couple seasons, we were watching him in F4, now we're watching him in F3, is he is pretty chill, and he is a student of the game, let's call him, and he may not push this. He's definitely lifting right there. He had the draft easily on that back straightaway, and he breathed that throttle to stay behind Green, and you may have identified the reason. He may be satisfied just kind of chilling behind Green until he decides it's time to fight. The track's still very hot. It's cooling a little, but it's still 106 degrees out there. So it is incumbent on these drivers, if they want to succeed down the stretch, to save their tires. And that may be what Case is doing right now. Although, as I say that, he used that draft. We saw him close those gaps down and get a couple of good toes there, and has broken the 154 barrier. He currently has the fast lap of a 153.9. and Stephen Case up 4 positions. And oh, by the way, look out behind. Here comes Max Linlotto, who had previously held the fast lap. Linlotto up 5 positions into P3, and some beautiful driving side-by-side action there into the hairpin. And pretty common to see that here at Sebring, but it still takes great car control and great trust of the driver next to you.
Jason Green might be sweating just a little bit as we see Stephen Case popping in and out of visibility. If Green is seeing that, he's probably just a little bit nervous, but Stephen Case able to make the pass after a decent run around the outside of turn 7. He gets up the inside of turn 10 and now easily takes the point. And I was going to mention it's a pretty nice compliment when a driver catches you and then chooses to not pass you. It means you're going fast enough that they don't care to do so yet, but Jason Green has to deliver now. He cannot let Stephen Case get away like they did in race 1, or else he'll be running in no man's land there in second place, or potentially worse, falling into the clutches of Max Linlotto, who's bringing Josh Corwin with him, by the way.
Yeah, you see Corwin hanging around there behind Linlotto. I see Case move over to the right there, coming down the Almond straight in an kind of half-hearted effort to break that draft behind. But so far, Green hanging in there, and this lap is going to be the test. Can he stay within drafting distance as Case continues to blink in and out of existence? Yeah, you're right. Very, very nerve-wracking to drive closely with somebody who's now you see him, now you don't. But yeah, a critical lap right here for Jason Green. He has got to hang on to the back of Case because if Case gets away, we've all seen what happens, and he will just drive off into the sunset.
Coming up on halfway in the race, here's a quick replay of Jacob Guyton having an issue in turn, looks like it's about to be turn 16, flicks the car to the outside to open up the entry. Oh, and it just wouldn't turn in for him. This track, maybe to your point, so hot. And if you try to set up for turn 16 too much, sometimes you can go a little too far with it.
Yeah, it looked like Guyton maybe overcooking that entry a little bit. Front tires starting to feel the pain here, only about halfway through this one, and tires falling off already. Bad news for Guyton. And as you mentioned, Tom, when that starts happening, it goes against your instinct, but you've got to breathe it, let those tires recover, even if it ultimately costs you. And here comes Mikovits down the inside of Adrian Lopez. And God, and you know, another great point you made is, you know, sometimes during the race we see drivers find their pace, unlock those last couple little secrets to get something going here at Sebring. And Mikovits up 6 right now, running in P6 after not showing a lot of pace in qualifying.
Lopez, Eggert, and Velasco are right there. And we're getting into the probably the first lap where the tires are going to start to feel just a little bit less than prime. We're hearing that Linlotto from up the road, he's off at turn 16. Another driver caught off here. He loses the back end through the apex, and unfortunately is going to slide just enough into the wall to lose his front end. That's basically race done, unfortunately, for this number 12 car.
Yeah, over for Linlotto, and there's a reason those tires are right there. It's because it's so common to lose the rear end and loop it to the drivers right into the wall right there. Linlotto's race over when he had a podium in hand, and we were thinking he'd probably be able to chase down Jason Green and put pressure on him before this one is over. But that will end it for Linlotto. That will put Kalen Mikovits and everybody else on the grid up one more position. Mikovits definitely with his work cut out for him right now. He's got about a 6-second gap ahead to Poborji, and it looks like right now Poborji's fast lap about 7/10 faster. So Poborji can kind of take a breath right now and focus on Corwin ahead. And can Poborji now, after a great performance in qualifying, great performance in that heat race, can Poborji make something happen? We see Eggert get a little too close to comfort with Lopez. No contact, but very close right there. And Eggert feeling racy, already up 13, wants to make it 14 to take that P6 away from Lopez.
Still showing the nose up the inside at turn 10 as well. Alex Velasco is just going to lay back for a second and watch where this one goes. But these tires, like I said, the first time, maybe last lap, maybe this lap, if you were really nice to them, going to start to feel a little bit worse. But the pace is still there. You still got to just drive through the scrub radius of the tire a little bit for the next 10 minutes or so and get the pace out of them. Some drivers love that. Some drivers can't stand it. But it looks like maybe a little bit of a brake bias imbalance at Eggert's car with a couple little lockups here and there. Velasco turns into a bit of a whip, flicks around the back end, and then a mistake for the 22. Wow, this is tough. Both of them survive, but that was clunky, and that lets the 007 Lopez drive away.
Oh my goodness. And Eggert, things getting a little bit sloppy right there. And you mentioned brake bias. These are fixed setups, but you can change the brake bias during the race. Absolutely critical in these things to aid you in tire management, and things getting a little bit loose for Chris Eggert. Eggert has moved up 12 positions, and you know that there's a lot of legitimate moves in there, and you know that each one of those moves was another small withdrawal time out of the bank of grip, and Eggert might be running out with about 10 minutes remaining here. This is the window where the tire witching hour starts, and we start to see those drivers who have not taken care of their tires. And we were talking about Poborgy. Here is Poborgy on Corwin, covering the inside on the entry to turn 7, the hairpin here. And can Poborgy take the long way around? Oh, not quite. Washes out, and that outside pass there, Tom, eminently doable. You can really sometimes get a good drive off of that outside line. But so far, Corwin hanging on, but this one not over.
This is incredible stuff. Corwin fades to the middle just a little bit to dissuade Poborgy. It leads Poborgy into a bit of a mistake in 10, with the back end wiggling around there at 12 as well as they come down now into 13. Corwin gets a 2 or 3 car length lead, but another one of these long straightaways is going to bring Poborgy right back to the rear transmission on that number 37.
Absolutely. You can watch that gap drop over there on our timing tower, and Poborgy will want to hang tough here behind Corwin and get a good exit. Early throttle right here is key, but not too early. You can ask Max Lindlotto about that, but Corwin getting a much better exit out of Le Mans that time. Look at that gap. Got up to 0.7, but 0.7 close enough to make something happen here as you see it, that gap reeling down. And meanwhile, Mike is telling me in my ear, you see that yellow flag next to the number 777 of Velasco. Velasco has had another problem here, and whoop, corner hook, that 3D curb. We've already seen that once. As I said, I've seen a professional driver wad up a prototype in that exact same way, and the 3D curbs take another victim.
It's just there's no control when that happens. You're essentially a skateboard grinding like it's Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and you don't get any control until the car eventually lands wherever it wants to. This battle, though, is the only battle on track, I'd say. Look at the timing tower. Everybody else separated by more than a second. Danush Poborgy still very much within drafting distance, but only just of Josh Corwin, who seems to have really strong pace here. He started on the front row, and you see he's the only driver in the top 2 have lost a position. That doesn't tell the full story. A little bit of a mistake into 7. Oh, he salvages it nicely.
Yeah, I'm amazed that he got away with that when you saw Corwin really washing out there. You got to think it's only a matter of time. And Poborgy, somebody else rocking a new livery there. And, being from Oregon, that kind of looks like Oregon State Beaver colors there. So I hope there's some fans down watching in Corvallis, and if I got that wrong, I know I'm going to hear about it, but it does say OSU, and those are definitely the colors. We will find out later. Go ahead and flame me in the YouTube chat if I am wrong, but take a look at that gap now. It is 0.3 now between Poborgy and Corwin, and coming into the money time right here. Here is that exit out of Le Mans onto the straightaway. Let's see if Poborgy got a better run this time. Corwin beat him off the exit badly last time. Little better this time from Poborgy. Watch that gap dropping now. 0.2 now, under 0.2. What is Poborgy going to do? Corwin will leave the inside open. Poborgy sniffs around a little bit, but doesn't decide to stick it through. So Corwin will hang on to that position for one more lap.
These dynamics can be so interesting because there's almost not a lot of pressure to do anything special in some of these corners because there's not going to be a passing opportunity, and other corners are just absolutely critical, like that turn 16. They've both done a nice job, but we're coming into this section where the opportunities don't really create themselves. You just have to make sure you're not making mistakes. Through turns 3, 4, and 5, big flat slide as they transition off the concrete back onto the asphalt. Then this flat out run. Here's a great opportunity for Poborgy. He's got the run.
Yeah, and taking advantage of that draft. It's deja vu all over again as Corwin tries to cover. A little bit of wheel banging there, and Josh says, okay, that's it. Uncle, and Poborji is through. That will put Poborji up into P3, the final podium position. And is this going to be Danush's season to put a season together and land on the podium, much like Mikovits did last year? But Corwin, Corwin making him work for it, keeping him honest there through Cunningham and Collier. And not a lot of action left on the timing tower. You can see there this battle here between Poborji and Corwin, about a half a second. Lopez is behind Eggert, who's now up 14, by the way, and that is about a 5-second interval. And that is about all the action we have going on right now. I told you during qualifying that we had a pretty broad array of pace out here, and it is turning into a track day, and it's turning into a Stephen Case track day. And there goes Case down the Ullman Straight, up 5 with a 3-second gap behind.
And it's more like a chasm behind that, 5.6 seconds back to Poborji, then Corwin. Corwin just doesn't quite seem to have the pace in this later stage of the race. The tires have shifted from requesting some mercy to begging for it with 4 minutes left in this race. I'm going to probably guess, maybe, depending on if Stephen Case has already started this lap, I think we're going to probably see the rest of this lap +2 at most.
Yeah, sounds about right to me. And this is kind of the part of the race where you really weigh the cost benefit of trying to press and get a position versus being satisfied with what you got, because these tires absolutely toast at this late point in the race. And there is Guyton with a problem. Guyton has had enough of Sebring and is going to park it. So another car finds its way into the pits. There's somebody in the grass right there as well. So the tire witching hour, is that Corwin? Oh my God. The tire witching hour in full swing right here, as you see Corwin washing out of turn 5, and not to beat a dead horse, but I told you that was a problem spot, and it has been. Oof. And then iffy, to put it mildly, re-entry there by Corwin. Surprised to see that. He looks like a good boy in that picture, but a bad boy right there. And so right now, with just a couple laps left, that is Case from Green, from Poborji, from Mikovits, and look at Chris Eggert up 15. It looked like he had beaten that car a little too hard to ask anything more of it, but he took a breath following Tom's advice. Those tires bounced back, and he kept pressing. 15 positions for Eggert, as he's showing where that 4.2 I rating came from.
Golf claps for that one, JR. Very well done. Corwin still on the defensive now with the driver just behind Adam Duvall. Really tries to open up 16 to get a good run through. You can almost overdo that. And he barely does, I think. It's still going to get a really nice draft down this straightaway. Closest battle on track, just 3/10 between them. Now 2.5. 2/10. Here comes Duvall. Up the inside, thinks better of it.
Oh, and then the double move there. What? I'm going to have to see that again. It really, I mean, you said it, thought better of it. It sure looked like he thought better of it, but then his second thoughts had second thoughts, and he pushed it through there. Crazy stuff going on right now between Duvall and Corwin, and there it is, folks. Look at that timing tower. It is white from top to bottom, and this is the only action left on the track with the race going away here. But look at this quick move back and forth. Oh my goodness.
You know the double juke is good when you get even the commentator. Didn't see it coming from at all. Big rotation in the entry. That's essentially the midpoint of the corner, and he floats it all the way through, which let Corwin get a run back at him. But Duvall, tip of the hat. That was really, really well played into 17.
Adam Duvall normally with the NASA livery, but showing his spaceship navigation right there, that was insane. And yeah, he absolutely faked everybody, including me, on that one. But could be the move of the night right there that put Duvall up into P7. And here is Stephen Case, calmly and coolly and collectedly enjoying his track day here at Sebring. And if the white flag is not out, Case definitely going to get it this time. And look at that timing tower. It is painted white from top to bottom. P10, 40 seconds behind P1 right now. And we never see these kind of spreads here in SRG F3. So this track has really been a handful for these drivers. We've definitely seen some great battles. But my goodness, what a what crazy stuff here at Sebring. And there is the white flag. And if we stay on this shot for another 30 seconds, we'll see the next car behind Case, because he is absolutely driven off here.
Yeah, he missed the checkered by about 3 or 4 seconds. So we're going to get a full another lap of Sebring International Raceway. I got to say, though, Jason Green is stayed within 5 seconds still ever since they've changed positions almost 20 minutes ago, at least 15 minutes ago. And to give you an idea, to give Jason some credit, that's a 10th per every couple of corners over how many corners they're covering. So yes, it is a dominant performance for Stephen Case, but just with how much is on the line here, Jason Green, not on the line, but how much opportunity, I should say, is on the line. Jason Green also doing a fantastic job. Both of these drivers probably just putting in qualifying lap or qualifying level effort laps. Danush Paborji settling into third. Ooh, a big push for Kalen Minkowitz. That's going to be potentially a cut penalty if he stayed in it. But all the way up to fourth for the 76.
Yeah, slow down for Mikovits for sure. Not really going to cost him. He's got about a second and a half behind. And by the way, as I was kind of poking fun at Case having a relaxing drive through the countryside, he heard me and turned in a 1:53.6, which is the fastest lap by a huge chunk of time. So, yeah, Steve, I heard you, and you're still going fast, and that is crystal clear to me and everyone else right now. And Case dominating again, repeat champion, is looking untouchable again in round one. And yeah, great shout out to Mikovits and Paborji as well. Eggert, we've got some big movers and shakers. And here comes Stephen Case. He'll come through Sunset for the last time, negotiating those tough bumps, letting it drift out to the exit wall there. And we'll see what kind of lap he puts in this time. Little swerve there in celebration. Yeah, that one was just a mild 1:54.2, but the previous lap, Case with the fast lap of the race. And as we watch the field streaming down that start-finish straight to take the checker, eventful race here at Sebring, and a great opener to what is going to be another fantastic season of F3 racing on SMB.
So much fun to watch as we watch the last half of the top 10 cross. Here's a really cool story for the night that we never found organically. Michelle Lynn, somehow with all that action, found a relatively quiet night on track, and this is an administrator for the Weekend Warriors League that's also broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Also a new coach and participant to a new racing group that we have, an all-ladies iRacing series called the Liberty Bell League, also broadcast on Sundays monthly on the Slow Motion Broadcasting channel. So really cool to have Michelle in the field. Hopefully she had a fun, quiet night and not a quietly chaotic night that we just didn't catch. She comes home in the 9th position. And then here's a look at the drivers who would rather forget this race. I think Max and Lotto, Diego Posada, Ken Glasser coming across the line just behind. And it feels like forever for us, but it's really not that long of a time. They're only 30 seconds back from the winner.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, welcome to Michelle Lynn for sure. It is no small feat to show up here in this field on your first effort and break into the top 10 as she did, moving up into P9. And just as an aside, I know some women who would come looking to kick your ass for calling them ladies, Tom. So we'll let that sort itself out organically, however it might. But in any event, here is Case on his cool down lap. We're going to see our traditional lineup here at start finish. Our podium photo opportunity. It's going to be Case, Green, and Paborji. And once that is done and Case boils the rear tires of that F3 car, we will take a look out in the interview waiting room and see who is here to talk to us and go through the final results for you as well. Yeah, and there we have it. There is your podium, Case, Green, and Paborji. And tip of the hat to all these drivers. It was pretty chaotic out there at Sebring, very tough conditions. It's always tough at Sebring, and we had some high temps added to the normally chaotic races that happen around here. And these drivers, particularly up front, handling it very well. And Green has had enough of that car as he's playing the Austin Powers maneuver back and forth between the walls there on the start-finish straight. But yeah, and Case, you see pretty expert donuts there, keeping within the lines. And that's because he's had a lot of practice, folks. I don't know how many times I've seen him win, but it is well into the dozens at this point. But as we wait for the last, actually, our last car should be through, so we should have those results for you right now. And I'll tell you what, Tom, why don't you run through those, and I'll take a peek outside, see who's waiting to chat with us today.
So taking the win in the first feature race of the Sim Racers Group Formula 3 season is Stephen Case for L10 Racing. He wins by 5.7 seconds over Jason Green, the Green Duval, in the number 160. Danush Paborji brings home the number 23 in third, just 10 seconds back. Another even 5 seconds back from there, Kaylin Miekowitz, a great charge up a handful of positions. I think the final number was 14 for the number 76. Then Christopher Eggert, Kaylin Miekowitz was up 8 positions. Eggert was up 14 positions. An excellent run to top 5. Then Adrian Lopez, Adam Duvall, Josh Corwin up and down all night. A lot of fun to watch, but lands in 8th position over Michelle Lynn for Dole Dime Racing. Then Jason Trantham rounds out the top 10. Lloyd Conway, Max Lynn-Lotto, Diego Posada, Ken Glaser, and Jose Navas, the top 15. Before we get to a couple of early retirements, the final runner on the checkered flag lap, Thomas Brashear, and then we're down a couple laps for Colker and Dillon, Jason Cotcher, Jacob Guyton, Alex Velasco. We all saw those incidents, and Tyrone De Silva gets the award for best barrel roll, but probably not his favorite night of racing.
Yeah, and that unfortunately might make it into our highlight reel for this month. We can't leave that kind of drama sitting on the cutting room floor. So keep an eye on our YouTube channel in our highlight compilations. You might be seeing that one again. But it looks like we have a few folks hanging around outside. And I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and start the festivities with league admin Jason Cotcher. And Jason, a brand new season here of F3 underway. The schedule looks absolutely fantastic. And again, we're super happy to be here partnering with you at Slow Motion Broadcasting. And what were your thoughts about Sebring? That looked very, very tough out there today.
Yeah, hey guys, happy Wednesday. Always excited to kick off a new season. Absolutely in love with this schedule. If you're fans of one of our drivers and peeps out there, stay tuned. This is just classic after classic. Yeah, Sebring, I like it. The guys make jokes about a Walmart parking lot, bumpy and empty and just pavement on pavement, but the place suits me. She doesn't love me back. It was week 1 a few seasons ago, and I was in the top 5 again, and had one of the league mates got kind of crossed up over some curbing, and we touched. That killed me there. And then today it was some elbows out, close quarters there with Alex. But yeah, I like Sebring. Schedule looks great. It's nice to forget life for a while and play video games with our friends. So super excited to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we're talking, Mike's reeled up a nice slow motion of you coming together with Velasco there. And initially, it looked like a little bit of a dive from him, but I think you're probably going to end up chalking it up as a racing incident. It looked like he was there, maybe washed out a little bit. You might have turned in on him a little bit, but very close one, and the kind of close racing that we see here on from SRG week in and week out. And I also will, since I'm speaking to you in person, I'll go ahead and apologize to you now for again kind of making fun of you about your pole start, kind of similar to when that happened to you at VIR. But
we're not friends anymore, JR. Boo.
But yeah, once a couple of cars got through it, you did a good job hanging on there to P4, which you hung on to for some time before that incident. So a good drive, and it's great to see you and everybody else out there getting faster. And looking ahead at the schedule, man, oh man, Jason, there is a lot of concrete barriers on that schedule. There are 4 street tracks, unless I miscounted on this one. So things could get a little rough and tumble out there.
Yeah, on the start here, we had some pretty high track temps, and the nightmare is to spin the tires. So I was trying to be gentle. Corwin got a rocket start, and then Green got alongside, and I couldn't go full throttle through there. I didn't want to get into him, and suddenly we're three wide. Danush to my left, Alex to my right. I mean, that's the sweat that we love. So, yeah, with Alex, I think you're right. I've only had one chance to look at it. In my defense, that's not a place that I would try to make a pass. You can leave like one car width, but if you get wide there, you slide in the marbles, you're in the bumps. If you don't crash, five more cars go by. So he put me in a tough spot there, but he's an admin. He's got keys to the Discord. So I'm going to calm my roll there a little bit. But I mean, Alex is fast. I can't blame him. It's elbows out. I mean, we're all trying to go fast. He's probably a little bit quicker than me on the regular, and he sees Case and those green cars getting away. He's going to try to make something happen. So love that guy. But yeah, kind of a heartbreak way to start the season. Yeah, lots of cool schedules. I dig street circuits. I've been a little bit safer, and so when guys, all it takes is the smallest mistake to bend a suspension arm or break a wheel, and that's a free spot. So probably have some drama this year. Tyler, my admin, has done a great job with introducing technology to make life easier on me as an admin, and so I've decided I'm going to dedicate that time to studying data and get more practice time in, and my skills need to come forward now. I'm not happy with just top tens anymore, and that might mean a little bit more elbows out. I went 1.5 average X per race last season, and that's great, but it's also 10th. So we're gonna have to put a few more chips in this year and hope that it goes well. But yeah, it should be exciting. Should be dramatic. Hopefully, it'll be clean and respectful, and full respect for Alex. I understand what he's trying to do there. It just millimeters, makes a big difference. So yeah, lots to look forward to. Really looking forward to sharing it with SMB.
To you, right? And you heard it, drivers. Watch out for Cotcher. He doesn't mind picking up a few extra X's this season, so he may be less courteous than he's been in the past if you get close to him. But Jason, thanks so much for stopping by and chatting with us. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to today?
Yeah, I mean, SMB, of course, the community, as I always say, it's always nice to see full rosters and full schedules and full leagues headed into a new season. And as I said, Tyler is the best first mate a captain could ever ask for. He's done so much. It's kind of a quick, funny story. As far as personality traits, I am not an early adapter. I have fought him on every piece of technology that he has brought to me, and then 6 weeks later, I tell him he was right. So I love that guy and his patience with me. And yeah, thanks to the community. Shout out Michelle Lynn. Fun to see her out there with us and a top 10 finish. That's awesome for her. And LBL, the Liberty Bell League, fun to see that get extended into the summer. So great stuff to look forward to. Thanks, guys.
All right, take care, Jason, and thanks again for stopping by and chatting with us. And we're really looking forward to the rest of the season.
Cheers. Let's have it.
All right, cheers. All right, that was league admin Jason Cotcher. And I'll tell you what, Tom, why don't you have a word with Adam Duvall? And I want to hear about that quadruple head fake he put on.
Yeah, Adam, you caught us off guard. I don't even want to know what the driver in front of you thought. But first, let's start with that. Down into turn 17, how much was organic and how much was let's call it jazzing, kind of improvising, and how much of that was planned?
Oh, it was not planned. I think I came in a little hot, and then I caught a bump and somehow kept it together. It was a surprise to me too.
It was a lot of fun to watch. We had a blast with it. And as you come into this season, tell us a little bit about maybe some of your goals for the year. You topped into the top 10 for the races tonight, but it's a long season. What do you think of the season? All of the above.
I've won a F4 championship, so I want to get. And last year I think I was 10 to 13. So now my goal is ideally top 8. But that's a big ask. So I'm happy with top 10. So I'm very happy tonight.
Well, I'm happy to tell you, top 8 being the goal. You finished 8th in the feature race just there. So if you keep it up, it looks like it's looking well for you in the green Duval car. A lot of fun watching you tonight. Can't wait to watch you the rest of the season.
Thanks, man.
Anybody
Cheers.
you'd like to thank for the run tonight?
Oh, just the whole league is such a fun environment. I look forward to Wednesdays every week. So just thanks to all the guys and the gals.
Good stuff from Adam Duval. And I think we'll also, JR, maybe hear from Danush Paborji sitting in the waiting room. Why don't you take it away with him?
Yeah, we do have Danush. Danush, welcome to the commentary booth. Congratulations on that P3. Fantastic drive at a very, very tough track. And I'll tell you, you had pace in qualifying. You've always been kind of lingering around the top 10, but you brought some extra pace tonight. And it brought to mind Kalen Mikovits kind of came out of a similar position last season to threaten podium race after race. Is that going to be you this season?
I think so. Maybe. Who knows? I will say thank you, first of all. And I really love this track. It's one of my favorites. It's challenging. I don't know. I just feel like I have it down very well. And yeah, I will say this, when I looked at the schedule for the F3 season, I was much, much happier than last season. I was like, pretty meh on those tracks, but it's just fantastic tracks all season long. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and we do follow for Sim Racers Group the iRacing official schedule, and they definitely put together a banger. And we talked about it a little bit in the lead up, but some great F1 tracks, a couple of classic sports car tracks, and a bunch of street courses. We got St. Pete, Adelaide, and Long Beach, and I think I'm forgetting one, but yeah, great schedule and great car track combinations for these F3 cars. Really looking forward to how this one is going to unfold. So. Well, race 1 is a podium. So how many more podiums are we going to get out of you this season?
I mean, if I wouldn't be a racer if I said all of them, would I? You have to say that. So yeah, all of them. I mean, I hope, but no, it's a good start. Very consistent. Pace is there. I've been working on my braking, a little bit, even from real life racing. And so it seems like it's going okay.
Yeah, braking tough to do on tough to learn on these downforce cars. As you slow, you lose grip as the aero bleeds off, and you have to brake accordingly. So it's very, very tricky. Oh, and now I'm seeing the cowboy. So I got to ask you about your livery. That's Oklahoma State, right?
Yes. So I'm a family med resident at the Oklahoma State University medical center. So I'm about to be done moving back to California. So I'm excited in June.
Got it. Well, I now in slow motion, I see the cowboy. All I saw initially was OSU and those colors, which are also Oregon State Beaver colors. So I may have maligned your fans and your friends there.
It's all good.
That's
Pistol
Oklahoma
Pete.
State Cowboys and Pistol Pete. But in any event, congratulations again on a fantastic drive. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you'd like to thank or give a shout out to tonight?
No, thank you very much. Thank you to the league. Thank you to you guys. And then one shout out to my attending Dr. Miller. It's his birthday today. He watches every week. So happy birthday, Dr. Miller.
All right. Very good.
Awesome.
Thanks, Danush. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Bye.
All right, and there is our last interview tonight, and man, oh man, what a fantastic race. And while you're sitting there in front of your TV, tablet, computer, whatever you're watching this on, go ahead and subscribe to Slow Motion Broadcasting. Hit that notification icon so that you don't miss any of the action. And speaking of action, it is coming. Saturday, Weekend Warriors Formula Vs will visit Lime Rock Park. Next Tuesday, the American Muscle Series. Those Mustangs are going to be banging doors at some point. Sim Racers Group F4 will head to Oz to visit the Bend. And 1 week from tonight, more F3 action at Suzuka. So I am JR Gregory on behalf of myself, and a hearty welcome to Tom O'Gorman, Mike Braun, and everyone here at SMB. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and hang in there, baby. Friday's coming.